Good morning and thanks for joining us at I-24 News. I'm Benjamin Chong Alfalas. Western leaders vowed to destroy the power centers of the Islamic State while Russia announced crucial Syrian peace talks would begin within days. Following a meeting with key allies in Paris, U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter said he would crush what he called the IS cancer. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, meanwhile, said Syria peace talks would start soon. Our correspondent Tamara Zeev has more.
As Western leaders determined to ramp up the fight against Islamic State on Wednesday, Russia announced that critical Syrian peace talks would begin within days.
The political process will begin, we hope, at the soonest, during January. Various dates are being called, but the final decision will be taken by the General Secretary of the UN on the advice and recommendation of his special envoy, Staffan de Mistura. He is currently actively contacting all the Syrian sides, the Syrian government and various opposition groups inside Syria as well as outside. And the Security Council of the UN has tasked him with putting forward an invitation to the Syrian participants for such talks.
His comments came after he met US Secretary of State John Kerry in Zurich, while from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Iran's foreign minister also said Tehran would throw its weight behind a political solution.
A four-point plan: ceasefire, national unity government, constitutional reform, elections based on the new constitution. I believe that's the basic framework that, as Secretary Kerry says, lies at the foundations of the new Security Council resolution.
Russia and Iran are accused of propping up their ally, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, and Western powers say Moscow is indiscriminately bombing Syrian opposition forces fighting IS. This issue was addressed by US Defense Secretary Ashton Carter at a meeting in Paris with his French, Australian, British, Dutch, German and Italian counterparts, where he laid out core goals in the fight against IS.
We don't have the basis for broader cooperation because the Russians are on the wrong track strategically and also in some cases tactically, as was noted.
The United States called for defense ministers from all 26 nations participating in the coalition against Islamic State, as well as Iraq, to gather in Brussels in 3 weeks' time. France and the US, which have stepped up airstrikes in the Middle East after the Paris attacks on November 13th, are striving to convince their partners to accelerate the rhythm after a series of setbacks inflicted to the Islamic State on the ground, particularly in Ramadi and Sinjar.